and we asked these bright young people
To a startup for ways to address water poverty.
whatever. So I mean, youth poverty might be a bit too broad and maybe beyond just an hostels of 20 years. So I think
like to request you all to take your seats. और मीडिया से जो हमारे आए हैं यहाँ पे, प्लीज आप लोग भी अपनी एक पोजीशन सेट कर लें ताकि आपको बार बार बीच में आना पड़े. We don't want any disturbances like that. Thank you.
अभी काफ़ी ज़्यादा काम इस चीज़ में हुआ है कि
Company. And for the past many years, Jazz in their social impact through various initiatives. These initiatives include the Jazz Smart School program, which is only about 100 teams, which means that all of you all who are sitting here are super. Do a round of applause to yourselves. So the last 2 days, these almost 100 participants, these teamed up collectively and collaboratively on competition as part of the hackathon, and we called it
entrepreneurs and professionals where they can help, mentor, support, and connect with each other. And one of our most awaited event, the flagship event is coming Annual Forum 2019 on 28th December, which will be held in PNCA. This year, our theme is Pakistan 2020 and beyond. We want to see that what the next decade has got for us in different domains. What are the opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities and challenges? We are going to cover it in the technology, e-commerce, and real estate and housing, tourism, and food business. So, and not to forget about the digital media. So I invite all of you to attend that event, and especially the winning teams of the hackathon, as well as for the next year. So thank you very much again.
Even, how should I say, the applicant pool was much larger, and I think next year is going to be more difficult trying to keep people away from the NIC and participating. I think the concept of why we've chosen, together with Open and Code for Pakistan, the SDGs, is that the fact that Gen Z, which some of you may be, but certainly millennials, that are now entering the workforce, this is your country, and a lot of the issues that are going to surface are your problems. And I think rather than us telling you what needs to happen and how you need to solve them, hackathons are a great way of generating these ideas coming from you. At the NIC, we've been inspired by, I think we're now, admitting our 6th cohort soon? 7th cohort. I was told to stand here, and I stood there and sit down there, and I sat down there. But I think because we need to get out of the way we previously used to make solutions and design solutions that work. Court for Pakistan, the NIC, firstly for hosting us, Saada, for showing us the leadership, and I hope.
CEO Huawei Pakistan. Please come up on the stage and share his thoughts.
I'm the only young person. So, I'm Sania, and on behalf of Huawei, I would like to thank all of you to let us participate in this hackathon event. For Huawei is always committed to support telecom and the digital industry worldwide, and especially Pakistan. So we believe that as top ICT company in the world, we have the duties to serve this world with better network connectivities. We also truly believe that there is a lot of potential in Pakistan, young generation. And we have seen some amazing examples here today. And just now I visited the first floor. Yeah. And we have strong confidence that with support of our strategic partners, it is also ready for explore the activities to support SDG together along with JAS. And at the end, I would like to thank again for this invitation and provide us the chance to show our positivity in development and the betterment of Pakistan. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you it's such a delightful moment for me. In 2013, I briefly served as the Federal Minister for Information Technology and Telecom for the government of Pakistan. It was the interim government, and I was suddenly given 3 portfolios, and IT was one of them. Of course, there were a myriad of issues that I had to deal with, but one of the 2 issues that were like big elephants in the room were the Universal Service Fund and the then ICT and R&D Fund. And in the 3 months that I struggled with these 3 portfolios, my greatest struggle was with these 2 institutions because they were mired with scandals, with inefficiencies, they didn't have CEOs, they were pilferages from the system, there was any problem that you name it, these 2 institutions suffered from. So to see the ICT R&D Fund transform into Ignite and transform into this wonderful institution with some interventions with credible impact, the living example that you see today is really very gratifying for me, and I really want to congratulate you for all that, and for all that has been achieved. When I stepped down from my role as the minister in 2013, I wrote a dossier called the Handover Papers. So even today, if you Google Sania Nishtar Handover Papers, that 200 pages paged PDF will pop up. And there is a inventory and an account of the issues that I faced in these 2 organizations. I'd like some of you to do a case history from then to now, because this really is a success story. And once again, congratulations. I'm also very happy to see that the private sector has been institutionalized as a part of the solution, because this is not something that the public sector can turn around on its own. So to see all our vibrant organizations hooked in, lending support, leading innovation, lending a hand in mentoring young, whatever name you used for it, which I cannot recall now, is really remarkable. And again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the private sector for the efforts that they've played in this regard. As you know, the Sustainable Development Goals have ushered in a very different paradigm for the world, and all our governments are signatory, including our government is a signatory to that. The premise of the Sustainable Development Goals is rooted in a whole-of-government approach, and an approach that recognizes the private sector and the civil society as equal partners. Because in order to develop solutions of the future, the government cannot think and act on its own. It has to draw on the resources and mine all the resources from within the government itself and from within the private sector. And by the way, the government is also not one entity. We always think that the government is one entity, but it's an archipelago of different ministries, institutions, and departments that often have a disincentive to collaborate. So the SDGs are predicated on the understanding that A, you will mobilize whole of government, B, that you will regard the private sector and the civil society and communities as equal partners. And the lack of acknowledgement of the strength of the private sector is something that is in front of us. It is every day in front of us. Go back home, order a pizza, and the same institutions will deliver online trackability, transparency, and accountability. When you get a pizza, it is basically these new institutions that are delivering these things to you. Order an Uber or a Careem, and the same principles will be delivered in the service that is delivered to you. And yet in the government, we battle with so many different issues that can be solved with solutions that the private sector has mastered for decades. So the premise within the framework of Ehsaas, which by the way is the program that I have the privilege of leading, is to embrace innovation and to embrace the innovation and the potential that the private sector has to offer. Ehsaas is the government's new welfare program with 134 elements organized in 4 different areas: human capital development, social welfare, jobs and livelihoods for the poor, and pro-poor governance. And those impact 14 different marginalized segments of the communities. And we are really stretching our imagination to deploy new solutions, to reach out to new partners. And in terms of the engagement with the private sector, there are a couple of things on the table which I'd like to briefly refer to. For instance, through our regular procurement process, we have brought in new and very powerful partners. As you know, the government social protection program centers on giving cash transfers to 5.7 million women, which is a very large number, across the country through the telcos distribution system. And for the last 10 years, the government was able to do a new procurement to bring new partners on board. So after the delay of 10 years, we've recently selected 2 very powerful commercial banks to be partners with us. So it is not the treasury banks that are helping us do the cash transfers, it is 2 very strong commercial banks who've been hired through a very rigorous, robust and transparent competitive process. It is signaled to the market that the government, and particularly in the framework of Ehsaas, we are very committed to getting on board the private sector by providing a level playing field. And I think that procurement and that new partnership in creating the digital payment system, the largest digital payment system for the country, has opened up many different avenues, because the commercial banks have started viewing us as true partners instead of the old paradigm of here is the government, here we are vendors and we are completely at loggerheads. Secondly, in the space of innovation, we've recently started to step forward in that space. On the 15th of December, we are going to be conducting our first hackathon in partnership with Facebook to design a malnutrition campaign. And the reason why I come here also with a lot of enthusiasm, having driven straight from Lahore, is because I would really want to extend you a hand of partnership and friendship and collaboration to explore how the set of questions within the framework of Ehsaas that remain unanswered could be addressed through the wonderful teams that you have upstairs. How can we actually collaborate to have a wave of Ehsaas hackathons in collaboration with our with our private sector partners and the incubation centers, of which I understand there is an ecosystem. So, and of course the 15th of December, and Sarah, who leads our Center for Entrepreneurship, leads that work. On the 15th, we will be venturing into that space. The government will be venturing into that space for solutions, and of course I look forward to a long horizon from there. Then again, in the framework of Ehsaas, we have launched 3 solution challenge prizes. The deadline for those finished on the 15th of November. We're currently in the phase of setting up committees. And those prizes were predicated on the understanding that the private sector does not have the appetite to develop solutions for the bottom of the pyramid because they're not commercially viable. So within Ehsaas, our thinking is how can we catalyze, how can we push the needle on that? How can we catalyze the development, catalyze the private sector to develop solutions for the poor? Is it through prizes? Is it through fiscal measures? Is it through a collaborative approach? Is it through push mechanisms? Is it through pull mechanisms? And with that in view, we've launched a prize for a cooking stove, a clean cooking stove, and the basis of that is that cooking with generates a lot of pollution, and poor families suffer very high prevalence of chest diseases in the rural areas. So if we had an affordable, clean cooking stove that was commercializable, we could potentially, over the next couple of years, help in addressing the high incidence of lung diseases, especially in poor women. The second prize that we have launched is a prize centered on a garbage collecting rickshaw, which can navigate the small alleys of the rural areas. And again, this is predicated on the understanding is that if such a model is commercializable, it will help the government with 3 endpoints. It will create jobs, it can be powered with garbage, so it will help with sanitation, and of course, it has health-related impact because of sanitation endpoints. The third solution challenge that we have launched is the innovative design of a thela, of a push cart, because there is no ecosystem here where of push carts, which we see everywhere in the world, and there is a huge potential in terms of the government creating the right environment, not just for that model to be developed, but also for a zoning policy at airports, at railway stations, and on roadsides, in commercial sites. And as part of the first challenge, we've called for a policy to develop zoning in the railway stations. So these are the 3 solution challenges that are currently in the field. Many of you will be requested to sit on committees to help us come to a conclusion, and it may well be that this is the start of further deepening in these 3 areas and the opening up of many more. And I request you to send us more ideas. Secondly, and also in terms of solution innovation challenges, we've launched 5 expressions of interest, because in the government, we have to go through the PPRA route, through the public procurement route. And the first, when you don't understand a solution well, the first thing that you do is that you do an open-ended expression of interest to solicit presentations so that your own understanding deepens, and then you can do a very tailored RFP. We've done 5. The first one is for anyone who comes up with a solution to connect local artisans with mainstream fashion houses, again based on the understanding that this will help create jobs, improve livelihood, improve incomes. Then we have another solution innovation challenge to create a microcredit facility for daily wage workers. We have another one to upscale online education content, and similarly there are 2 others. And we will continue, and these are the first 8 test cases for us. based on which we will increase our engagement in the space of innovation. I also want to quickly let you know that we are serious about engagement with the private sector. And one example of that is the recent langar policy that I did. The Prime Minister is very keen to have soup kitchens for laborers who don't have lunch in industrial areas. And he asked me to develop a langar policy and to have a series of nationwide langars. I had the option to do an RFP, get a partner and pay for that. But what we did was to select a civil society entity that had capacity to produce meals for the poor at scale, and that to explore what constrains their ability to operate, and it so transpired that they do not get space in areas where poor laborers eat. So the policy that we did was a win-win for both sides. It costs zero, PKR zero to the government. We provide them space and facilitation. We provide them space and facilitation, and what they do is to set up the soup kitchens there. As a result of this intervention, by the end of next year, we will open 120 soup kitchens where an average of 700 poor laborers will eat on a daily basis with zero cost to the government, and the total cost of this operation at PKR 2.5 billion will be borne by the trust. Also, as a result of our transparent procurement processes, we are ending up saving monies for the government. We are strengthening systems to decrease pilferage, and we are engaging the private sector in a true partnership mode. So as a result of our recent procurement of two commercial banks, and by the way, that was a very healthy competitive process in which several credible partners put in their bids, but two were ultimately selected. And the operating cost that we finally came down with was from 2.7% of our overall operating costs to 0.60 of our operating costs. We save 2 billion for the government. We save a massive amount in pilferages, and we engage commercial entities in a true partnership mode where they look at our beneficiaries not as just beneficiaries, but as clients that they own and to whom they will also target their interventions. So this is a very long-winded way of saying that, at least to the extent of Ehsaas, we are very committed to ensuring that we mobilize and we leverage all expertise within the system to deliver this multifaceted program. I come here with a lot of hope and aspiration that this will be the beginning of a long and lasting partnership. And I would really like to announce that we will be embarking upon a journey of Ehsaas hackathons, where I hope many of you will participate in addition to the ecosystem of the incubation systems. Thank you so much for honoring me and for having me.
The winners of our Women SDG Challenge Cup 2019. Let me also mention, ladies. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Kaho Kahani is actually an education-based startup, and they're helping children understand the very basics of our culture and the very And again, Orendo is also an edtech startup, and they're also using innovative means for education. And well-being, they are particularly working with infant mortality, and they've devised this hardware that helps monitor young babies. And I will request one of the team members.
इकोसिस्टम बनाना चाह रहे हैं, एक कल्चर प्रमोट करना चाह रहे हैं स्टूडेंट जॉब्स के हवाले से, जो कि पाकिस्तान में एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता, ताकि हमारी इकॉनमी को भी वो सपोर्ट करे और हमारे स्टूडेंट के अंदर एक एहसास दिलाया जाए कि वो भी ड्यूरिंग स्टूडेंट भी एक अपने आप को शो कर सकते हैं कि वो उनके पास क्या स्किल्स हैं, ताकि फ्यूचर में वो उनके लिए काम आ सके। थैंक यू।
In the NIC and Jazz Accelerate. But this year, I think, given the quality of the ideas and the strength, the team tells me that we're going to extend that opportunity to be included in an NSC cohort or Jazz Accelerate to all 6 of the winning teams. So all 6 of the winners, I mean, doesn't stop the others from applying outright, but all 6 of the winners will kind of get a pass to the second stage and will appear before the panel to see how they can be included. So good luck and thank you.